That's my technique is I go in the water and lay on the bottom and let them come to me. I act like a piece of trash that's fallen off somebody's boat or whatever it is. And the fish are curious about something. They, a tree falls into the lake, and shortly after the tree falls in the water, it's home to many fish. So if I go into the water with that mindset, I'm just going to be a tree that has fallen in the water, or I'm going to be, whatever, a rock. And you just lay there and silently kind of just really slowly move your head, really slowly do everything super, super slow. And you'll think you're doing it slow until you videotape yourself or somebody videotapes you. And then it looks like Blair Witch Project. And you're like, what is going on down there? And until you're really slow and really, really one with that environment, the fish will react to you as if you were a predator there to harm them.
These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. This episode of the Six Ranch Podcast is brought to you by Decked. That's Decked. If you don't know what that is, Decked is a drawer system that goes in the bed of a pickup truck or a van, and it'll fit just about any American-made pickup truck or van. It's a flat surface on top, and then underneath there are two drawers that slide out that you can put your gear in, and it's going to be completely weatherproof. So I've never had snow or rain or anything get in there. There's also a bunch of organizational features like the deco line, and there's boxes that you can put rifles or bows or tools, all different sizes. There's some bags and toolkits. There's a bunch of different stuff that you can put in there. But the biggest thing is you can take the stuff that's in your back seat out of your back seat and store it in the drawer system, and it's secure. You can put a huge payload of a couple thousand pounds on top of this deck drawer system. There's tie downs on it, so you could strap down all your coolers and your four-wheeler and whatever else you've got up there. It's good stuff. This is made out of all recycled material that's 100% manufactured in America. And if you go to decked.com/sixranch, you'll get free shipping on anything that you order. This show is possible because companies like Decked sponsor it. And I would highly encourage you to support this American-made business and get yourself some good gear.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for being here. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Big Jake Lords, residing in Salt Lake City, Utah, born and raised.
Nice.
And I'm Brett Leable. I'm here currently from Lubbock, Texas, but born and raised in Wisconsin.
Now, Lubbock, Texas, and Salt Lake City are not known as spearfishing destinations.
No, they're not.
And yet you two are tremendous, especially freshwater spearfishermen, and you're kind of leading the charge in this world. And it's a world that has my attention almost in totality. Like I'm starting to shove aspects of hunting that I've previously committed my life to the side so that I can learn more about spearfishing, become better at it, and open up opportunities for other people to get involved in it. And that's something that you two have been working on a lot. And that's what we're going to get into today. But before any of that, talk to me about the history of spearfishing, because it hasn't been around forever.
Brett, you probably know more about the history of it. I mean, it probably originates. To be honest, I think because spearfishing is so badass, I actually bet that Jesus, I bet he was spearfishing. Yeah. Like I bet when, in the scripture it says, follow me, and, I'll make you a fisher of men. In my head, I'm like, follow me and I'll make you a spear fisher of men,
Let's go. Let's do this. Yeah, I think, are you talking freshwater, James? Is that what you want to know?
No, fresh
general?
salt, all of it. In my brief research, I'm thinking about powered spear guns, specifically, so that they've got some means of propelling that spear forward. That really was depending on some newer materials before it was ever possible. So
Yeah.
while we can think about like stabbing a fish with a spear as something very old, actually swimming under the water and getting a spear to propel forward, that's relatively new.
Yeah, I would say the modern era of spearfishing that you're talking about started with like those original gangsters like Jay Rife, and some of the, he was in California and has a big spearfishing company named after him now, a great spearfishing company too. And that's the West Coast, and a lot of great names there that I'm not going to try to list them all. But then the East Coast had other great names too, like Art and Don Pinder, and those guys were revolutionary too. So the coasts pre-internet, of course, were developing modern day spearfishing separately. Um, and then when they would get together and host like a nationals tournament to see who's best, the West or the East, essentially, it was a showdown.
Who,
That's
who,
where they
who,
would share
who,
gear and ideas.
who's the dude that shows up to nationals every single year that comes and takes
Don
pictures? Yeah.
Don Barthman. Oh, Dale Saunders. Dale Saunders is United States underwater, no, USOA. So that's the governing body of uh, skin diving in the United States competitive world. So that's the Underwater Society of America, USOA, and they have what they call the Athlete of the Year. And Dale Saunders, who Jake's talking about, was Athlete of the Year 1960, and he's still diving and still taking pictures and participating with us today.
That's
The guy was
phenomenal.
amazing. Dale
Amazing.
Saunders was he was a California guy, and he currently resides like in the Midwest somewhere. So he's freshwater now.
Really interesting. The am, and I'm probably saying this wrong. Is it Bouchard? Um, that as far as I can tell was the first powered spear gun in like 1947. So
Yeah. Yep. Bouchot.
yeah. So when
Yeah.
these World War II, it brought so much technology back. There was tremendous development during that time in all sorts of space. But one of the big ones were elastics. So a lot of our rivers in this area that couldn't be navigated by a steamship or a paddle wheel or anything like that, they didn't get run until those rafts, those survival rafts, came back from World War II. And then suddenly there was a boat that could do it. They could slam into these rocks and handle all these rapids. And I think that some of that same material that those rafts would have been made out of is what those first spear gun bands were probably made out of.
Sure. Yeah, rubber bands essentially is what
Yeah.
we're putting on the end of a wood stick that then propels a spear forward with a simple trigger mechanism, and refining that over the years, and now we're into you know from that humble beginnings to inverted rollers and just crazy technology that pushes spears out 30 feet super accurately to shoot huge fish, tuna and all, marlins and all kinds of stuff. It's incredible.
And 30 feet with a spear gun is like 600 yards with a nice rifle. That is a
for,
long ways. There's a lot that can
No,
go wrong.
for sure.
30 feet with a spear gun is like 2,000 yards with a rifle.
Well, hey, Jake, it depends what you're shooting at, right? Like even you couldn't miss a 300-pound tuna, right, at 30 feet.
That's true.
I could. I could miss. But tuna are wicked fast, right? So, and the same problem that you have with long range shooting on animals is time of flight, right? So if my bullet is in the air for, a second, 1.5 seconds, sometimes north of that, that is a long time for an animal to stay still. And there's no predictability that says that it's absolutely going to. And same thing with a fish. Just because it's there when you squeeze the trigger doesn't mean one flick of the tail and it's gone.
You bet. You got to lead them. You got to lead them on the run.
I mean, Brett's got a 267-pound tuna, so not all of us can say that we've got a triple-digit tuna.
Dude, that's
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah, I shot that one as an incomer. That wasn't a difficult shot because that was kind of my joke. That fish was 18 inches tall, top to bottom, and it was a school of them. I don't even know how big the school was. It seemed like it was endless
Yeah.
and full of cow tuna. So that's a really great success story of a fishery that came back.
Right.
California did a great job with that, and I was fortunate to take one of the first big cows that came back to California. I think it was 2017 or something.
I just caught a 196-pound yellowfin in Louisiana, and that thing owned me. And I mean, the reel seat exploded off the rod. Things were breaking. I could feel the line getting wrapped up in the sharks that were in the bait ball. It was pure chaos. I can't imagine being in the water with all of that.
Oh man, sign me up. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's no better feeling of just seeing a big bait ball and just the fish zooming in and out of it. Oh, there's shooting shooting a big fish in the water is like a comparison to shooting like some big game animal, like a big elk, like a 400-inch elk. There's no better feeling in shooting something big and your buoy just goes zooming past you.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling.
Yeah. I look forward to that feeling. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm doing what I can to earn it. Let me talk to you guys a little bit about what I'm doing right now to get myself into this world, and you can tell me all the ways that I'm screwing it up. I'm doing O2 tables and CO2 tables every other day, alternating those. It doesn't seem like I'm making any progress, but I think that the progress is probably pretty slow. I'm signed up for 2 dive schools in June. One of them is going to be in Florida, and it is a PADI course. And then the other one is with Oregon freedivers, and it's a different course that goes to 20 meters. The first one's a 10-meter course. The second one's a 20-meter course. And then from there, our water temps are going to be about right by the time I'm done with all that for me to start hunting suckerfish here in Oregon, which is one of the only species that I can legally hunt, just due to what Oregon's regulations currently are. And I'm enrolled in the national online tournament through the National Freshwater Spearfishing Association. So excited for all this. What else should I be doing? And am I wasting my time with any of the things that I'm trying right now?
I would say, I mean, Brett's got a phenomenal breath hold, but we like to do like apnea walks. So hold our breath and like walk because like it's so much different when you're just sitting there holding your breath and doing tables rather than like walking because it propels like you're actually using your muscles, which you're going to be using when you're free diving.
Gotcha.
So, Brett, talk about apnea walks.
Yeah, apnea walks are huge. That was a game changer for me. I think everybody starts with tables, and first off, James, like getting into a course, and in your case, doing 2 courses, that's perfect. Like I learned so much taking my course, and stuff I thought I knew and I didn't, and I learned so much. I think that's key. If you can find a course, take it. And then dry land training, like we're talking about, the tables, yeah, they work, but they're slow. Um, and watching YouTube and other influencers like Jake on Instagram, are going to help you move faster. Like when I started spearfishing, we basically didn't have the internet,
Right.
so it was all word of mouth, and it was, hey, what are you doing? Kind of collaborative stuff, and then just figuring it out and doing a lot of things wrong. But apnea walks has been the number one game changer for me. And then number two game changer is breath hold stretching. So every day in the shower or wherever you are comfortable, I like the shower because the hot water runs on my back. And, after a lifetime of building construction, my back is toast. So I like to be just loosen up, take a nice deep breath, and stretch like all my normal stretches while holding my breath. And that breath hold stretching, like all the way through contractions and all the way through, as long as I can muster, is really immensely helped my game. And then we do, like when Jake and I and our other dive partner were at Blue Water World Cup, we were breath hold stretching the whole ride out to start right on the boat On the boat, we're just
Oh,
stretching and we're getting beat to death in the waves, but it helps. I mean, it works. Just before you dive, do breath hold stretching.
Okay. Uh, it seems to me that, you know, being able to hold your breath and be comfortable underwater extends your opportunity to be able to call fish in, sneak up on fish if you have to. But I think that the hunting aspect of spearfishing is what intrigues me the most. And being able to watch really good spear fishermen like Kylie and how she's really she's hunting in very similar ways underwater as she does when she's on land. And that's something that I'm trying to translate and find the nuance and difference between. But man, it's incredible. It is incredible to, even if it's 30 seconds, like 30 seconds of being under and being able to get a hold of the bottom and sit still long enough for that world to start to adjust to you being in it. There is just nothing like it.
Yeah, 100%. And Jake and I have two different hunting styles, right?
100. Yeah, Brett's all about keeping it slow, and I'm like, I will swim miles.
Jake is a hunter. Jake is a true hunter, man. We like to joke like he can't hold his breath more than 40 seconds or something, but he just shoots fish. Like he's a great hunter and a great shot, and that might make up for whatever lack of pure free diving mechanics he has or doesn't have.
What are some of the popular species that people are going after in freshwater, and what are places that people can do it?
I mean, there's Brett. I mean, there's probably 6 states that you can shoot like bass, catfish, walleye. I mean, those are probably like the striper. Those are the categories of fish that most people are going after. Carp, obviously, suckers. I mean, you can go and shoot carp almost anywhere.
Yep.
Um, but then you're getting into like the trout. Uh, Brett and I actually, what was it? A couple days ago, we tallied up all the people that have shot lake trout, and there's got to be no more than 30 people that have shot a lake trout.
Dude, my heart jumped out of my chest when I saw that picture, and I messaged you immediately. Um,
Oh, you should see some of the messages lately. It's like it's so good.
so you shot an incredible lake trout, and this is a species that is doing some interesting things. There's recently an article that came out, and it was actually a study that showed how lake trout in Yellowstone were impacting the elk population, right?
Really?
This, this is fascinating. So lake trout are eating so many cutthroat that the cutthroat aren't running in the rivers anymore. And the
Oh,
bears that were depending upon that as a food source are now going out and killing elk. So with the addition of wolves to that ecosystem, some habitat loss from old fires, all the tourist pressure, and lake trout. Now you've got a decreasing elk population in Yellowstone Park that can't recover. Fascinating stuff. So
hmm.
I would love to see that as an area that we could go and hunt lake trout in
Oh,
as
if
well.
if we could go up to Jenny Lake and blast lake trout, oh my gosh, sign me up.
I mean, they're asking anglers to retain all of them, right? Like they want them gone. So why not allow spear fishermen to go there?
Is that in would that be in Montana? Would be the jurisdiction? I know it's a federal park, but who would have the fishing regulation?
Yeah, I think it would be National Park Service.
Because Montana's a pretty open state. Like Jake was mentioning before, there's several, like six really open states, and then there's a lot of other states that are kind of, dabbling, let's say.
Yeah.
But Montana's pretty open. In the west side of the state, they allow like walleye, and I don't know about trout, but certainly some more game fish opportunity. But that's a great argument to make. But like any government regulation, it's slow rolling, right? You're going to have to start a petition or do something to get it voted into law to allow people to do it. But spearfishermen would be the perfect, um, you know, it's like when they ever have problems in urban areas with deer, they hire specialized, hunters that essentially are sniping deer out of these areas effectively and safely. And the same could be said for spearfishermen to help combat the wayward lake trout.
Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. Jake, what kind of messages were you getting after you posted that photo?
Well, I always tune in and say, at Brett Leable, can you tune in and help this fine gentleman and tell him how great lake trout tastes at a 45-inch lake trout tastes. Well,
Yeah.
sir, this is and then break it down like, oh, it's like,
we try to give them we try to channel their hate somewhere else, because we're all on the same team and the same side. I hate when bow hunters, and I know Jake's touched on this on other podcasts, but like bow hunters pick on rifle hunters for not being true or whatever, and fly fishermen pick on bait guys for not being real. And I just feel like, guys, we're same team, same side. We can't let us be divided. So let's not hate on each other.
Yeah, it tends to be people who prefer a less effective method that uh that are sending that hate, right? Um, so they just feel some type of superiority by using a method that's less effective, and then they feel threatened by somebody who's using something that's more effective.
Yeah, it makes sense.
and it's actually funny you say that. Somebody that's actually like hated on me on Instagram, I've taken them on like spearfishing with me just to show them how hard it is. And dude, after he was like, bro, I have so much respect for you. Like he didn't shoot a single fish. And I'm like, bro, like there's fish here. So it's like when you're fishing, you don't see anything above the water and you're just, throwing something in the water and waiting for just, that's like luck. You know, yeah, I mean, I guess there's some skill to it where I feel like I feel like with spearfishing, there's so many elements that come into it.
Well,
Like
when you're
like the hunting, like
yeah,
camouflaging yourself, but you're also holding your breath. Also trying to get this fish's attention. We're using crack pipes and throw flashers. So, oh, sorry, we're not using actual crack pipes. We
right.
we're it's a PVC pipe with like tinfoil wrapped around it. So that way your viewers are like going to like a smoke shop, be like, "Do you guys sell crack pipes here?" Like,
Now you got to go to Salt Lake City to get those.
Yeah. Get them downtown for sure.
Oh man. Yeah, it, it's interesting because it's so selective, right? Because you're not only selecting for the species, you're selecting for the individual. And you simply can't do that with a hook, right? And the reality of catch and release fishing is that a significant portion of the fish that we catch and release die. And, that's calculated into fishing regulations. And also with spearfishing, sometimes fish get off the spear and die. Like
right,
that is another reality of it. But with that hook, any species can come along and bite it for the most part if they can wrap their lips around that bait. With spearfishing, and especially if we're talking about these non-native species or species that are causing harm in an ecosystem, and spearfishermen can get in there and they can select for that species only and for specific individuals within that species, whether that's male or female or certain size limits. You just can't do that with another method.
right,
100%. Yep.
right,
It can be very sustainable. It comes down to the end user who's pulling the trigger, right? If somebody's out there being a wahoo and just doing dumb things and killing just for the thrill of it, like that can happen too. And some people will give the whole sport a black eye for no reason. But like Jake, like everything he does is as sustainable as it gets, right down to, filleting his lake trout, cooking it, the normal way, and then whatever's left over, the carcass he smokes for 5 or 7 hours, takes the scrapings of whatever little bit he couldn't fillet, the cheek meat, the collar meat, the head meat. I mean, and he takes that, puts it into a dip, eats the fins. Like spearfishing has the ability to be the most sustainable method of take if people are just, good stewards of the sport, right?
Absolutely. I took spawned out suckers that I was killing last summer, and I was putting them at the base of the trees in my orchard. And right now, these trees look so healthy. And, there's just like some scales and bones around the base of it, and everything else is dissolved down into the soil. And, you know, I'll be eating fruit this fall that has DNA from, these fish in it, not actual DNA, but the nutrients, those isotopes from those fish that I hunted last year, I'm going to turn those into apples and cherries. And that's incredible.
Absolutely. We did that on a pretty large scale last year at the World Freshwater Spearfishing Championship in Lake Powell, Page, Arizona. And I think about 100 or 80 competitors over a 2-day period. All the game fish, we shot on day one were used and eaten by participants or whomever, but their families. But the second day we focused on an invasive species, the common carp, which is a filter feeder. It tears up the bottom, searching out invertebrates, and you know they destroy the habitat as well as take the food source, right? So they're parasitic in two different avenues, and we took out something like 2,000 um, pounds of no, that's not even right. It's like it was two full dumpsters and 2,000
It was like
fish. Do you remember,
yeah,
Jake?
like 3,400 pounds worth of fish.
It was insane. And they took him to the mayor of this little town, dug a pit in his house or his property, and we put him in there, and he composted them for use as fertilizer by the other people. And so it was completely cleaning up an invasive species, helping the resource on one end, and then turning it into something usable on the other.
Now, I try to be as fair as possible in all things. So, what are some reasons that people or governments would not want to allow spearfishing?
We're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Best answer. Yeah, best
It,
answer. They're
it's
they're
it's a
really
it's a bit of a head scratcher. I don't have a good answer for it, but y'all have been in it for longer than I have.
there's really no downside. And I literally just emailed Maine, the state of Maine, the other day, and I was like, dear Maine, dear the state of Maine. Of course, I'm emailing the um, Fish and Wildlife Commission on behalf of the National Freshwater Spearfishing Association because I'm on the board. So I'm emailing them to try to open some opportunities just for rough fish, just for invasives, just for what they don't have a limit for currently, hook and line. It's just another method of take. And there's not too many people that are going to take the opportunity to jump in the water in Maine and go spear a carp. But I know one person who will specifically, and she's a female, has 3 kids who are chomping at the bit to get into it. Her kids range from like 2 to 5, and what better way to get them started in the water than in freshwater where it's safe and calm and pretty easily controlled, as opposed to what you saw probably diving in Hawaii with current and waves and so forth. It gets pretty hectic in a hurry. And then in the Northeast, where she lives, that you combine all of those elements with low visibility and great white sharks. So it's kind of tough for a kid to get into it until they're a little bit older.
Is it
Right.
So freshwater is a great introductory method.
Go ahead, Jake.
Brett, are you talking about the famous Ann Hilton?
Yeah, Anna,
Anna
she is
Hilton?
famous. She's gotten very famous.
Nice. Well, Anna, I hope you get your opportunity. When I go to the Fish and Wildlife Commission here in Oregon this year, what is my pitch to them? Like what has been effective in other states? How do I get them to take a risk? Because these agencies really oppose risk. They get hate no matter what they do. It's a really difficult position. Somebody's going
Right.
to be mad about every decision that they make or don't make. So how do I get them to take that risk and say, let's go ahead and expand this and maybe just have it be for our non-native species?
One person that you could actually talk to is John Dirtka out of Michigan. He helped get opened like parts of Michigan. And I think it's going to be open probably next year for like part of it for salmon.
Nice.
But
He's opened the game fish for sure, big time. He did a lot of work up there, and that's a great idea, Jake.
right. But I think the biggest thing with that is, and what like these, fish and game is they want data. When I've been with Fish and Game where they would go out and do their like
Creel studies, the harvest studies.
right where they'll do the drop net and take the fish out, measure them, see what they're eating,
Right.
just for data.
Yeah.
So the way they actually do it in Michigan, from what I've seen, is they're taking, where the fish was taken, how many of the fish was taken, who took it, and like
How many days in the water?
Yeah, how many spear fishermen are in the area?
Yep.
Gotcha.
They're using the spear fishermen they're literally having the spear fishermen report. So they're getting, as part of opening the resource, they're getting real-time data like sightings, how many fish did you see? What kind of fish did you see? Are you seeing gobies, like invasives in the Great Lakes? Just like you were saying, it's huge real-time information that is literally hands or eyes on, as opposed to from the surface electroshocking or from the surface hook and lining.
And with the technology we have and the apps that we have today, that data collection is more seamless than it's ever been. They could even incorporate something like the Fishing Chaos app that you guys are using for the online tournament. I want to get into this tournament. So can people still sign up for this? Because it's on. It's started.
Yes, sir. It started 2 days ago, May 1st, and it runs through October. And the neat thing about this tournament, as opposed to other tournaments, is you can sign up anytime, as long as you sign up before you start harvesting fish. So is there a bit of honor system there? Yeah. But I think spear fishermen are the most honorable people.
Very good.
We need to play by the rules and stuff, but I think that gives a unique opportunity for people who are coming maybe late to the game. Maybe it's colder where they are. Like it's super cold where Jake and you are right now. But here in Texas, the water temps are already in the almost 70s. So I can really get started.
That must be nice.
Sometimes we have alligators here too. So
Right. After I get done with this bear hunt next week, I've got a quick turn and then I'm heading to the Yucatan and I'm going to be spearfishing for 3 days down there. The last time I was down there, I had a barracuda scare me really bad, and now I'm mad at him. So I've got a vendetta against the barracudas, and a little bit.
Make sure to shoot them in the head because they'll come back after you.
vicious, vicious.
Good to know. Well, last time I had one swimming towards me, and I was like, all right, this is gonna happen, and he got what I now know is in range and just stopped and opened his mouth and showed me what he was working with. And I headed for the surface with a quickness, man. I wanted nothing to do with that. And so now I've got to go back and seek my revenge on the barracudas and hopefully not get Cigatera from eating them.
Sig is a concern. Freshwater has no sig. Another great reason.
Yeah, but we also can't eat we can't eat a freshwater fish raw.
Right.
Really, really, yeah. I know some people that have, but you really don't want to make a practice.
Yeah. I've done it, mostly with kokanee, with these little landlocked sockeye salmon. I've eaten them raw quite a bit, and I know that I shouldn't, and I take a lot of risks with food that people think are stupid, but it hasn't gotten me yet, so I continue with the stupidity.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of myths out there. Like Brett said, like we have people on my Instagram that's like, oh, the bigger the fish is, the worse it's going to taste. And I'm like, sir, would you rather eat a 30-pound tuna or a 300-pound tuna? The fat is going to be a lot greater and it's going to taste a lot better in the bigger tuna. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. Like the bigger halibut are a lot better tasting. I'm like, perfect. So let me ask you, have you ever eaten a 45-inch lake trout? No. So like, yeah. So
Yeah, I've eaten lake trout and I can't remember inches, but in the 25 to 35 pound range. And there's a lot of fat in them and they smoke up wonderfully.
unreal.
And yeah, I think smoked lake trout is tremendous. And the fat just drips out of them when you're smoking them. And you mix that up with, good cheese and a cracker and you're living well.
Right.
I'm actually Jake, he's an influencer. He's inspired me to go out and smoke. So I smoked after he did his lake trout, I smoked some paddlefish and I made it tonight.
Oh,
And
cool.
my wife, who's not a huge, she's a certain type of fish eater. We have plenty of fish laying around, but she won't touch like the tuna, she won't touch the salmon, and my son and I just mow it down. But paddlefish, smoked paddlefish fish dip a la Jake Lords is a big hit at our house.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like she probably likes halibut, right?
She likes halibut, she likes walleye, she likes grouper, she likes hogfish, she
Yeah.
likes all your white fishes.
I say that halibut is for people who don't like fish.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
It's the potato of fish. It tastes like whatever you put on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And walleye, it's the same thing. Like everybody, it's a very flaky white meat. That's great. But you know what? Another great uh, fish is similar vein is drum, freshwater drum.
Mm.
Jake and I were in Arkansas last summer, and we started calling them round walleyes. They were just as good eating as the walleyes. We could cook them side by side and hand them to you in a blind taste test, and you wouldn't know the difference.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they crush like mollusks and clams with these crunchy weird back grinding teeth, and so maybe it's something in their diet that makes them, very good.
One of the worst eating fish out there, in my opinion, is a trout, right? And trout get all the love and they're beautiful and they're fun to catch in a variety of ways. But a rainbow trout or brown trout tends not to be very good table fare.
Well, Jake, did you eat your two world record trout, your rainbow and your brook? You ate them both, right?
I sure did.
Yeah. I like brook trout. I like char better than true trout. But
Yeah, I also don't do the traditional cook where you do like the lemon and the lemon pepper. I actually use like steak seasoning or
mm,
steak rub and smoke it. Same thing on salmon, and then do like a green garnish on it, and it always
yeah.
comes out good.
Do you ever cook salmon with mayonnaise?
I haven't.
Man, it crushes. And I know that sounds a little bit weird to people, and mayonnaise can be divisive, but the Alaskans do that a lot. And if you think about what mayonnaise is, it's egg and oil, a little bit of salt, and yeah, if you season the fish first and then just lightly spread some mayonnaise over it and then throw that on your Traeger, dude, it is pretty powerful stuff. Really good, especially on something like a sockeye where it doesn't have a lot of fat in it. It's a good way to go. Give it a try.
Yeah, I've done salmon pinwheels
Yeah,
where you get the salmon and then do cream cheese, capers, roasted tomatoes, roasted peppers, and then you roll it up. So then it's like into like a wheel,
yeah.
and then you smoke that, and it always comes out fire.
Heck yeah. Um, okay. So the National Freshwater Spearfishing Association, what's their primary goal? What's their mission?
I would say, the number one goal is that we are the hub of for freshwater spearfishing. So you're on the west coast, Jake's in the central mountains, I'm in South Texas, and Anna, she's in New Hampshire, and we're all connected right now. You know, if you end up over in one of these places, we have a network to hook you up with to dive with. And freshwater is fun water. You know, everybody's super chill. We're not, you know, all about hiding our spots and calling you a kook and all this stuff that you see in some of these heavy duty saltwater fisheries, right? And like Jake, even himself, a big Instagram star he is, you can DM him literally, and he will take you spearfishing. He he is such a gem of a human, and takes time out of his day to dive with you. And most people in freshwater are the same way. Like we're all here for the fun.
And Jake isn't a one-trick pony either. He's dabbling in fashion now.
I mean, yeah, dude, you name it, I can do it. You know, I play pickleball every day. You know, I'm at the gym. Like
In the sauna, you're in the sauna every
yeah,
day for
I'm in
sure.
the sauna. Like I'm getting 1% better. Like
Always. You actually, I want to say this, you know, in public for all. You've influenced me to start working out again, Jake. I haven't told anybody this, but since after a year of you tagging me for 1% better, I started going to the gym last month.
hey,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
brother.
If it influences one person, it's worth it.
That's me. I've been influenced.
So talk to me about the fitness requirements to actually go do this. For people who are listening at this stage in the show, if they're still here, they're definitely interested in trying this themselves. What do you physically need to be able to do to go out and enjoy freshwater spearfishing?
Breathe, breathe.
Or hold your breath.
No,
Yeah.
no. You if you can hold your breath for 30 seconds, you can spearfish because clearly I can.
Jake, Big Jake is not a moniker. Big Jake is a real description of a big man, and he's as good of a freshwater. He's as good as a spear fisherman all around as I've seen. And I'm an old man, right? So it's great because you don't have to be a young stud like a mountain guide hunting sheep and goats, right? You can literally be an old out of shape 40 something year old dad like myself and get in there and crush fish. And it's just a mentality or a mindset. It's holding your breath and practicing and wanting to get better and just hunting and being one in the environment. You know, when I say hunting, it's almost opposite of what you should be doing. Instead of going to jump in with a deadly thought in your head, you need to really like almost try to like blend in and like have really happy thoughts. Like I don't want to shoot you fish. I just want to blend into your environment, and they come right to you. If you start thinking dangerous thoughts, man, those fish are gone.
Dude, these are facts. These are facts. And I heard this, so I've been dabbling in spearfishing for over 20 years now, right? And just in the last few years, I'm starting to take this more seriously, be studious about it, dedicate myself to actually being able to perform at a level that'll satisfy me. Um, and I'd heard people say, now these fish are smart. As soon as it's different from snorkeling, as soon as you're in the water with a loaded gun, you can't be thinking these things, otherwise they're going to leave. And it is absolute facts that these fish act incredibly differently. I see it a lot when I'm using a pole spear. I can be covered in fish like a little mermaid, and then as soon as I load that pole spear in my hand, they're getting out. They're gone, and all that's really changed is my attitude in the water. And these fish survive in a really hostile environment because they're able to detect when there's a predator that is in predator mode around them.
True story. Lateral line.
I mean, it's like hunting season. When hunting season rolls around, you just see the biggest deer walking downtown, and you're like, he knows. He knows it's hunting season.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not they're not dumb.
That's my technique is I go in the water and lay on the bottom and let them come to me. I act like a piece of trash that's fallen off somebody's boat or whatever it is. And the fish are curious about something. They, a tree falls into the lake, And shortly after the tree falls in the water, it's home to many fish. So if I go into the water with that mindset, I'm just going to be a tree that has fallen in the water, or I'm going to be, whatever, a rock. And you just lay there and silently kind of just really slowly move your head, really slowly do everything super, super slow. And you'll think you're doing it slow until you videotape yourself or somebody videotapes you. And then it looks like Blair Witch Project. And you're like, what is going on down there? And until you're really slow and really, really one with that environment, the fish will react to you as if you were a predator there to harm them.
Yeah. Some advice that Cliff Gray gave me when I was looking at different dive schools is he said you should really consider going to one that's super hippy dippy, because that stuff absolutely works in spearfishing, and you can use those techniques for your own evil. And I'm definitely going to one. The one in Florida is going to be like it's yoga. It's about your mental state of everything.
They're doing
And I've
ayahuasca as they're as they're about to go free dive.
Gosh, I hope so. No, I don't know. But I think that there's definitely something to that. And there, if you look at the people who are setting records with freediving, they're they're doing it with a strong mental game, and they're thinking about all of those processes that are I guess psychologically less conservative than my normal lane.
100%. I think I took my diving to and spearfishing to the ultimate next level during COVID. So COVID struck, everybody shut down, and I was a self-employed business owner, and my wife worked for the government, state of Colorado, and I was like, well, all my work has gone away. The state of Colorado is shutting down, locking down super hard. The only thing we should do now is hook up our camper and drive to Mexico. And we did. We just drove straight to Mexico because if the world's going to end, you might as well be enjoying yourself on the beach somewhere. And so that's what we did. Went down and I dove every day for, I mean, like 100 days straight. And it was only through 100 days. And I mean, not like hour long, sessions like were doing with Kylie in Hawaii, but like, an hour here, half hour there, just enough to get dinner. But every day it just becomes like this routine where you're like seriously one with the water. And it sounds super weird, but you start to notice things about yourself you never noticed before. Like, why am I gripping when I dive? Why am I gripping my gun so tightly? That gun isn't going to
Mm.
get away from me, but that grip was expending energy that I didn't need to expend, and it was shortening my breath hold. Okay, relax my hand. And then as I'm going down, it's like, oh, my shoulders are. Why am I tensing my neck? I'm not nervous. Why, relax. So I was finding all these little muscle groups that I was actually being tense with over 100 days of diving every single day, and really, really changed my game, and really, you know, as hippie as it sounds, became one with water.
What does that calmness in the water and calmness within yourself do to the rest of your life?
Oh, Jake's leading the charge on the ice baths. I think, like, it's become like you can't hardly open up Instagram without seeing somebody doing a cold plunge ice bath, whatever, right? And it didn't start for Jake in, a cold plunge thing. It started in spearfishing in cold mountain lakes,
For
and
sure.
literally, it's a mental relief. Like it's therapy. Not that I'm not trying to make fun of therapy. Everybody should go to therapy in some form or another. Uh, but this is for me really where I focus and really where I can just
You
find
just
myself and
I feel
center
like
myself.
you have so much mental clarity when all these elements come in the picture. You're holding your breath, you're hunting, you're trying to attract fish, you're trying to provide a meal for you and your family. And I think all those come into the picture. You're really honestly just really grateful that you have the ability to do this.
Yeah. No,
100%.
I agree that there's an aspect of gratitude that naturally comes from it. There's something about freedivers and spear fishermen that I find magnetic. Like if I'm at some, Ambassador Summit, and there's people from all kinds of skills at these things. They're very interesting. You'll I'll be at an event and there'll be a professional driver and a professional mountain biker and professional spear fishermen and professional chefs and professional hunters like myself. And the people that I'm drawn to that have just this absolute calm confidence about their demeanor are the spear fishermen every single time. And that was something that, gosh, just a few years ago, I was at something like this at a Traeger event, and I ended up spending the whole thing with Justin Lee and Kimmy Werner. And I just thought that there was something very special about them as people, and they are very special people, but I think that they're made more so by their time underwater.
Yeah, no doubt. If you've spent any time around Justin Lee and Kimmy Warner, like those are the two most genuine, honest to goodness people you've ever met, and they've spent more time deeper than 100 feet than I'll spend in my entire lifetime trying to catch them. Like they just are great people, great stewards of the land, and both of them have come to freshwater events. Justin's a big supporter of freshwater, and he comes every year to our nationals. He beats us a lot, but sometimes we
A
beat
lot
him.
every time.
No, we've got him. We've got him a few times. The Hawaiians are next level. I mean, Hawaiians.
Yeah.
I totally told Justin. He went to Bahamas a few years ago, and that's my spot. And I was like, "Hey man, how'd you like Bahamas?" He's like, "Oh man, it's incredible. There's fish. It's just crazy with fish." I was like, "You know why?" He's like, "No, why?" I was like, "Because there's no Hawaiians there." He said, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You guys are stone cold murderers. Like you can spend 4 minutes underwater on a single breath and kill everything up to 150 feet deep. Like it's incredible." Um, so it really is. I can't say enough good things about those guys, but they really are next level.
Yeah. No, I agree. And not just next level at their sport, they're next level humans. And
For sure.
Kylie's the same way. Her ability to spot octopus, dude, that startles me still. Like I think about that for part of every day is how she was able to spot some of those octopus in, 45, 50 feet of water. And there was one of them that I shot that she's like, go down and shoot this octopus. It was sitting on top of a rock. I was like, I can't see it. And I pointed my spear gun at what I thought it was. And I said, is that it? And she goes, yeah, that's it. And I'd done so much surface hunting around here that like I shoot a lot of fish with my snorkel sticking in the air. And I was able to shoot that thing, and I had like, 6 inches to spare on my tether. And she's like, I can't believe you hit that. I was like, oh, well, this is something that I've actually practiced. But yeah, the eyes that those folks have, truly incredible. Like,
Yeah, Kylie Umeda's next level human too, man.
yeah.
She came to freshwater at Lake Mead. I don't think she had one day scouting and crushed everybody. She's an incredible human, incredible waterman. I've never been able to dive with her. She was out of reach for me at Kona Nationals when I was there in June. And an incredible person, humble personality, just like Justin and Kylie. Can't say enough good things about that crew from Hawaii.
Well, we got her applied for a cow elk tag in Oregon this year, and hopefully she draws it. She's got over a 90% chance of drawing it. And if she does, I'm going to take her elk hunting and try to
Nice.
return the favor of taking me spearfishing. But okay, if somebody wants to try this, give me the 10-minute 101 of what they need to go out and try this and be safe and have a good experience.
Jake's got the gear. Let's hear the gear list, Jake.
Wetsuit, fins, and like when I started, I had like a surf wetsuit, no hood, and it was like I had scuba fins. But I think you could get a decent setup with like a spear gun, a snorkel, a mask, fins, booties, gloves, uh, weight belt for under $1,000.
for sure. You'd be solid set up for under 1,000 for sure.
And you are not getting into any kind of land-based hunting with quality gear for $1,000.
No,
Not happening.
no, your rifle anymore, even a production off the shelf Remington 700, BDL or 700, $800 now just for that rifle that used to be the standard to start out with, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so it doesn't even touch your boots. So between those two things and bullets, you're done. At $1,000 bill is burned.
Yep. Okay. So we've got our gear list. Then what happens?
Then if you do what you do is take a course if you can, or find some real experienced people to dive with and keep you safe. And that's where like becoming close to the NFSA will help you to link you up or literally invite you along with us wherever you are. I think that's a huge step, right, Jake?
Right. Yeah. I also think that like just going like even without even doing a class, just going out and getting after it to realize you're like, holy crap, this is so much fun. I mean, just like you, like you didn't start out by doing classes. You were spearfishing before you were doing classes, and you realize you're like, this is so much fun. Like I want to take this to the next level, and I want to get better at it because all my homies are that I'm spearfishing with are a lot better than me. How do I get better? And I
Yep.
think that that's the part where you're like, well, this is how I'm going to get better. Is I need to do a class to figure it out.
Yep. And people universally agree on this, right? Like everybody that I talk to says you really need to go take a dive school. And they're not that expensive. They're very available, and people come out of those things with good things to
It
say.
depends on where you live.
Sure.
I mean, available like twice a year in Utah.
Right. You might have to travel for it, depending on
Yeah.
where you are. You might
Right.
have to travel for it.
Right.
I mean, like,
Yep.
I'm going to go to Florida. That's a long haul. Um, the one in Oregon, I mean, that's a 7 hour drive for me. It's not all that close either, but I go hard on stuff, and I don't want to gloss over a point that you made, Brett, which is that if somebody contacts one of you guys or the NFSA, you're going to be really happy to say, hey, here's somebody in your state or somebody in your area that we know about, and they'd be willing to show you the ropes a little bit.
100%. Like I said, freshwater is fun water. We want more people to dive with us. It's more fun with friends, right? I mean, Jake and I never have more fun than when we're diving with each other and a group. We took 6 different people to Blue Water World Cup. 6 different freshwater divers went down and competed against the best of the best in La Ventana, Mexico, in blue water competition. It was super fun. And even though we're just freshwater people, we're there having a ton of fun. And we're looking forward to creating that larger network and helping people link up and be safe together and scout together. And so after you found your people, after you've maybe had some safety, some classes, your next step is finding your water, right? And it just goes back to exactly how you scout for new deer or elk spots or new duck spots. You get on Google Earth or whatever mapping system. Onyx I use a lot too, and look at the water. Another trick is stalk people on Instagram and see where they're at. Or if you have a potential lake that you think, go on Instagram, type in that lake name, and see. You'll get a bunch of random people that hashtag Lake Travis is a lake by me in Texas. And you look at Lake Travis and you're like, wow, there's actually some pretty good structure or coves, or the water looks clear. There's a good lead just by doing some quick background searching on the internet.
Nice. Yeah, all solid things. And then the other thing that I don't want people to gloss over that Jake said is just to go try it, man. Like one of my most hilarious spearfishing endeavors was back in like 2005. Um, I bought a pipe gun off the internet. I bought the wetsuit that was recommended for 35-degree water, which is what I was dealing with in Montana. And I didn't research well enough to know that I needed a weight belt. So we go out in this lake. There's carp everywhere. They're starting to come out from underneath the ice. And we're in a drift boat, and I got all, suited up, and I jumped in, and I
And you're
I
just
was float I was floating so high I couldn't get my fins in the water. I was flapping around and I couldn't do anything. It's so
So
embarrassing.
good.
But it also wasn't enough to make me be like, all right, I quit. I just kept trying. When I got to North Carolina, I tried to swim out in the surf and, got absolutely stomped on by waves and lost my spear gun. Didn't give up on that either. Um, but now the information is so much more available, and there's this growing network within freshwater and people's access to that network. It's changed everything. So, now anybody can reach out and talk and ask and get good information. It's incredible. Like,
100%.
what an opportunity.
I will say, Brett's like, you can type in a location on Instagram because most of my places that I'm tagging is like Yellowstone National Park. So like homies are hitting me up and they're like, hey, where in Yellowstone can you go spearfishing? I'm like, homie, you can't. Like
Just about anywhere once.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that the lake trout I tagged Pyramid Lake, like
Nice.
where they're where they're shooting or where they're catching those big cutthroat and big lake trout.
The Lahantans.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, seriously, like if you find the network of people, if you found Jake or myself or anybody like us associated with the National Freshwater Spearfishing Association, I've got gear. I've got gear for days. My wife is not impressed with how much gear I have. You will be though. You want to borrow a gun? You need an inverted. You need a what did Jake do? He gave one of the guys in our network a whole blue water setup, floats, float lines, a big 155 centimeter breakaways. I mean, thousands upon thousands of dollars of gear. He's just like, here you go, bro, enjoy. And dude flew down and had a great trip in Mexico. And it's like if you break it, you buy it though, right?
Yeah.
But like if you want to come to Texas, like you got your choice of 7 or 10 different guns and wetsuits for days, and I have I think 10 different masks. Like try one that fits your face. Try one that works for you. Like that's what part of being in the network gets you.
What's your tactic for sealing up the mustache?
I when I dive, I always cut down this like little part right here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I do Vaseline on the stash.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I shave mine off. I
You
don't
do.
have as great of a I don't have as great of a mustache game as you and Jake. So I just shave it off. I'll come back in a few days.
The guy that owns Pop Spearfishing in Kona
Calvin Lai
told me,
Sr.
what a gentleman. I
What a
really enjoyed
gentleman.
him. Yeah, really
They
enjoyed
come
him.
they come every year to Freshwater
Every
Nationals.
single year.
Calvin Lai and Calvin Lai Sr. They come every single year. Awesome people.
Yeah, I spent about 8 times more money than I went in there to spend just because I enjoyed him so much. He
No,
told me chapstick, clear chapstick. He said that that's easier on the mask, but I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know.
he would know. They were commercial fishermen forever, and I know Cal Jr. still is. Yeah, excellent people. Great tip.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's put a bow on it here. How can people support you guys, follow what you're doing, get involved, and where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, TikTok, but Big Jake Lords.
Anywhere the influencers influence.
Right.
Careful, you'll be influenced. You have a patent on Big Jake Lords, like TM or.
Oh, that'd be great.
Let's work on that.
Let's do it. And I'm at the real Brett Leable on Instagram. I'm not a big influencer. I
Yeah.
just keep in touch
Easy.
and as well.
You're a big influencer.
I do my best. I also National Freshwater Spearfishing at National Freshwater Spearfishing for the Instagram and Facebook, and then nationalfreshwaterspearfishing.org is the website, and you can get on there and get all that information. We actually have a WhatsApp link on that website, so you can WhatsApp a pro if you got a question. I'm not going to tell you who the pro is, but you're looking at them.
Nice. Nice.
So your advice might be subject to how many gin and tonics I've had that night.
Yeah. Hey, you probably have the connections, James. How do we get Donald Trump Jr. into freshwater spearfishing?
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, I think we just ask him if he wants to go. As far as I can tell, he's somebody that really values adventure and new experiences, and would probably love that opportunity. So, yeah, we could reach out and make that happen. He was talking about coming out to the swimming fundraiser that we're going to do out here in August.
Wait.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue in my practice and add in more apnea walks and be the best student that I can be at these schools. And boys, I'm coming for you. I'm going to be the sucker king when this thing's all over with.
Like that.
Let's do it.
I fully intend on being a national champion by the end of this year.
That's awesome.
Let's do it. That's great, man. It's a great journey. Like, that's the thing everybody needs to remember. It's not a destination, it's a journey. You can do this until you're 80. And that's the best part about freshwater, especially.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I know it's getting late where both of you are. I can't tell you how much I personally appreciate you. Both of you have just been on the spot every time I've had a question. You haven't made fun of me yet for how dumb my questions are sometimes, and I just want to say thank you to both of you.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Yeah, thanks for the exposure. Freshwater is fun water, man.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, I really do think that it's at a tipping point, and it's going to become more popular as more people understand just how incredible this experience is and how available it is. There's probably carp where you live. It's the most fished for and the most eaten species in the world. So, there's more bites taken of carp than any other fish on the planet. And the carp are abundant, available, and like we've talked about, they're the most loosely regulated species in the United States. And chances are you're going to be able to go spearfishing for them. You just got to find water that's clear enough to see them in. All right, fellas. Yeah, thanks again, and
Thank
y'all have a good evening. We'll be in touch.
I just want to take a second and thank everyone who's written a review, who has sent mail, who's sent emails, who's sent messages. Your support is incredible. And I also love running into you at trade shows and events and just out on the hillside when we're hunting. I think that that's fantastic. I hope you guys keep adventuring as hard and as often as you can. Art for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatelain and was digitized by Celia Harlander. Original music was written and performed by Justin Hay, and the Six Ranch podcast is now produced by Six Ranch Media. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the show, and I look forward to next week when we can bring you a brand new episode.